What does UFC cans even mean, brother? Woo! It's UFC 319 and Fight Week. Grab your garspooch and let's get started. It's going down, baby. It's going down. Fight him. Knock him out. Punch him. Punch him, dude. Just punch him. Oh, yeah. That's the stuff. That's the stuff. Yeah, break his neck. Don't be shy. There he is. Cum shot. Oh, it gets you hyped, doesn't it? Dricus Du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. You know what that sound is? You know what that music is? It's too quiet, dude. Welcome to the DynamiteGizmo podcast, everyone. Episode 263. Oh, this is it, people. We finally made it to the fight week for UFC 319. Can we turn the music down? For those who don't know, oh my God, my notes. Why are you scratching my notes? My notes! Okay, shut the music off, people. For those who don't know, this is one of the three major fights any true UFC fan has been waiting for this entire year. And even last year. There was Jones versus Aspinall, which we'll never get. That was number one, but we'll never get it. Topuria versus Makhachev. We may still get that one in the future, but for now we don't get it. And finally, there was Dricus Du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev, which we are for sure getting this weekend. Because everything's going to go to plan, Khamzat's going to make weight, and he's not going to be sick. Praise Allah. Alhamdulillah. In this episode, I'm going to go over news about 319 and UFC in general, Khamzat Chimaev and DDP. Fights to absolutely look out for on this card, and why it is that you should look out for those fights. And then we'll end the episode off, as always, the same as always for Fight Week, with my fight predictions. But before we get into anything, I just have to blow a big burp right into the microphone so everybody can hear how my burps sound. Because I want you to hear my crispy burps. I want you to hear my burps. It's lagging again. Come on, computer. It's because I'm trying to open Photoshop. This computer is only a year old. It's only a year old and it's already starting to slack, dude. If I turn the quality down, don't do this to me, computer, please. I swear to Jesus. If I turn, it's lagging, dude. I see it. If I turn the quality down on the camera, it helps. It stops that lagginess, but it looks like shit. So you have to suffer through the lag. But that's okay. It's just a little lag, all right? It's just a little temporary lag. Okay. Take a look at the screen, you fine feathered friend. Whoops. You see this sheet right here? Look at this beautiful fucking sheet. Look at it. Would you just look at it? It's beautiful, isn't it? This is my own creation. I call it a fight prediction sheet. I make these for every main number event and pretty well every single fight night card. This allows you and your friends to make fight predictions throughout the night, okay? And I know what you're thinking. Why do I need a sheet to do that? Well, why don't we take a closer look at the sheet, shall we? Okay? Let's zoom in. Let's zoom into Cannonier versus Page, okay? It's got the entire card on it, from early prelims all the way to the main event. But let's just zoom into Cannonier versus Page, shall we? Okay? If you have a fight night and you invite over 10 of your friends, maybe 20, maybe 30, maybe only 2 of you, it doesn't matter. This is a free sheet. You download this and print it off, and then you show this to them. You say, hey, look at this. Your friend might not even know anything about the UFC, but you've invited him over and you're making him watch this shit. And he's like, I don't want to watch it. And you're like, well, I've got a sheet. Take this sheet and we can have a little fun. And he's like, but I don't know anything about fighting. And you say, well, look, this makes it easy. It shows you the weight class, their names. It shows you the Vegas betting odds, their fight record, where they're from, the flag of origin, the ranking. Did I say their nickname? It's got their nickname even, and a picture of them. All right, that's more than enough information for your friend to vote on who he thinks is going to win. Even if he doesn't know anything about the UFC, he can utilize this sheet to at least somewhat of an advantage. Okay? So then you just take a pen or a pencil or whatever and you check off vote for the fighter you want to vote for. And then whoever wins, you check off the win box. And if it's a draw, no contest, or whatever the fuck, you check this off. Bada boom, bada bing. There is a link in the description of this fucking video or in my bio on the page, on my page. Okay? It'll take you to a Google Drive where you can download this shit. This will not be available until Friday the 15th. Okay? I wait until the Friday before the fights to release these because things change. Fights change, fights come and go, fights get switched around, fighters get sick. But not Khamzat. He's not going to be sick. He's going to be a nice, healthy boy. We're going to have a nice, healthy boy ready for the fights. Okay? But enough about the fight prediction sheet. We'll come back to that at the end of the podcast. For now, we need to jump into our topics. Today, we're going to talk about UFC joining Paramount and the ups and downs of it, especially being a Canadian citizen. And then we're going to talk about Khamzat Chimaev, and then we're going to talk about DDP before we get into the fight predictions. So let's start it off with UFC leaving ESPN and connecting ties with Paramount. My name is Gregory. No, that's Gregory. At the end of last year and rolling into the start of this one, there were all kinds of rumors about what would happen once the UFC's exclusive deal with ESPN came to an end. And true to form, the UFC didn't slow drip the news. They just dropped it on us out of nowhere. Just this week. And for those who haven't heard yet, which, if you haven't, what the hell? Are you living under a fucking rock? But it doesn't matter. I'll explain what happened right now. The pay-per-view model for the UFC is, or so we thought, officially dead. At least for the next 7 years, starting in 2026, the UFC is moving away from being exclusively tied to ESPN and has inked a massive deal with Paramount Plus. Every numbered event, every fight night, all available right there for as little as $8 a month with ads or $12 a month ad-free. Hallelujah. This is a huge step, a huge first step for the UFC. In over 30 years, they've never ditched the pay-per-view model. They were one of the last major sports properties to hang on to it. And now, it's finally gone. Now, it's not Netflix like some people were hoping for, but this is exactly the kind of move fans have been wanting. No more shelling out $80 a month for a card, and the numbers are crazy, dude. This is a $7.7 billion deal over 7 years, averaging at least $1.1 billion per year. And for comparison, the ESPN deal was bringing in about $500 million annually. That's a massive jump. And it's a win-win for both the UFC and the fans. Well, most fans. Because here's where the downsides come in. Okay? The first downside is potentially for the fighters. Now, as Ariel Helwani pointed out earlier this week on his Monday morning Ariel Helwani show, no more pay-per-views means no more pay-per-view points for the top fighters. Pay-per-view points are a negotiated perk that gives a fighter a cut of pay-per-view sales. For example, if a card sells 1 million buys and the fighter's deal pays $1 per buy past a certain threshold, that's $1 million bonus just from pay-per-view sales. Usually, only champions, big stars, and main event draws get pay-per-view points, and the amount varies by contract. Without that revenue stream, some of the sport's biggest names could see a serious pay cut, unless Paramount and the UFC come up with a new bonus structure. And as we've heard from Dana White, he said, of course we're going to do something. Of course something's going to happen. Every time we sign a new deal, fighters get paid more. He has been quoted saying something along the lines of that. But he didn't say specifically what he was going to do because he still doesn't specifically know what it is that he's going to do. Now, the other downside about this, and it's a downside that affects specifically Canadians. I don't know about other parts of the world. I know Europe has their own thing with TNT Sports. I don't know about Australia. I don't know about any of that shit. But what I do know is Canada, because that's where I live. Okay? When I first read this news about the Paramount Plus deal, I was obviously ecstatic, just like everybody else. I had to crack my neck. I'm so sorry. Finally, no more pay-per-views. But then I saw, the fine print on this fucking ordeal. And this Paramount deal only applies to the United States. Anyone outside the U.S., the deal doesn't apply. At least not yet. Even if you have a Paramount Plus account in Canada, you won't be able to watch UFC events on Paramount Plus. That's because Canada has its own separate deal with Rogers Sportsnet, which renewed a multi-year contract in 2024. There's no publicly announced end date, but based on past deals, we're probably locked in till about 2027. And before you think, I'll just get a VPN, there's a catch. Paramount Plus requires a U.S. billing address to sign up for the U.S. plan. So it's not as simple as just it's not as simple as just switching your location with a VPN. And the UFC didn't make any of this clear when they announced the move, so I figured I'd put it out there. If you're outside the States, don't get your hopes up just yet. But according to Ariel as well, once the Rogers deal expires, Paramount will have a 30-day window to secure the Canadian market first before anyone else, which would be ideal. But for now, we have to wait. And there's no disclosed end date, like I said. We don't know when this Rogers deal is going to actually be up. But based off of previous contracts, it's probably going to be somewhere after 2027, around that time. So do you think the UFC moving to Paramount Plus and ending the pay-per-view model in the USA is a good move for the sport? And should they make it globally right away? I mean, obviously, right? What a dumb question. Now we're going to jump right into Khamzat Chimaev. Khamzat, one of the men fighting for the title this weekend. Boars. My neck is sore. I'm sorry I'm cracking my neck. It is sore. Khamzat's a crazy motherfucker, dude. And you know this, and I know this, and the whole world knows this. Why am I getting text messages from Walmart? Stop texting me, Walmart. Khamzat isn't just undefeated in the UFC. He's undefeated, period. He's had 14 pro fights plus 1 amateur bout, and he's won every single one of them. Out of those 15 total wins, 9 came in round 1, 4 came in round 2, and 3 went the full distance. So yeah, you can see why people love to say Khamzat's only dangerous in the first round. He'll gas out by round 5. He's already stacked up 5 performance of the night bonuses and 1 fight of the night bonus, and he's taken out big names like Robert Whittaker, Kamaru Usman, Kevin Holland, Gilbert Burns, Li Jingliang, Gerald Meerschaert, and even Jack Hermanson in a wrestling match outside of the UFC. But there's one stat that really shows just how crazy his run has been. Khamzat holds the record for the shortest time between wins in modern UFC history. Just 10 days. He debuted on Wednesday, July 15th, 2020. Yes, it was a Wednesday because it was during the UFC's Fight Island run during COVID. Okay? So he fought on Wednesday, July 15th, 2020. Then he fought again on July 25th, 2020, picking up 2 wins and 2 performance of the night bonuses back to back. Then in September that same year, he smoked Gerald Meerschaert in 17 seconds in round 1 for yet another performance of the night bonus. Every division has its boogeyman. And for middleweight, it's Khamzat. But his UFC career hasn't been all smooth sailing. Between December of 2020 and March of 2021, he was booked to fight Leon Edwards 3 times, and all 3 got canceled due to COVID. First it was Leon with COVID, then it was Khamzat with COVID twice. And in September of 2022, there was a massive pay-per-view plan to close out Nate Diaz's UFC contract. Khamzat was set to headline against Diaz. There was no belt. There was no belt on the line, but it was huge hype. But he missed weight by 7.5 pounds, forcing a last-minute card shuffle. And Diaz fought Tony Ferguson instead. Khamzat stayed on the card, fought Kevin Holland, and fucked his day up. And fast forward to June of 2024, he was booked to face Robert Whittaker, but an extreme illness forced another cancellation. So that's at least 5 different times Khamzat was supposed to headline and never got the chance. It's almost like there's a curse keeping him from showing his full potential. He's never done 5 rounds, not once. And not by choice. And now here we are again. Hopefully this time nothing gets in the way. I've been saying it for months. Anything can happen. It's going to be nerve-wracking watching the weigh-ins live. Waiting to see Khamzat step on that scale. But from everything I've seen, he looks locked in. He's been training in California at the training lab with Coach Cal, as well as the Jackson House Santos studio, surrounded by high-profile fighters and coaches. A lot of people are worried about his cardio. But I'm going to be completely honest with you motherfuckers right now. And it might be crazy to say this, but I'm not even a little bit concerned about his cardio. And I don't say that lightly. Okay? The only 2 times he's gone to decision were against Kamaru Usman and Gilbert Burns. And he won both times. Yeah, he looked tired. But so does almost anyone after fighting guys like that. Just because most of his fights end early doesn't mean he is not capable of going 5 rounds. Everyone will keep saying if Khamzat doesn't finish in round 1, DDP will win. Blah, blah, blah. We've heard it over and over again. Literally every single fucking person is saying that exact same sentence. But why? Are we basing that on a last-minute fight against Kamaru Usman that he still won? Or the Burns fight where he fought at a ridiculous pace? Like, this time he had a full camp with Coach Cal, a guy known for building championship-level cardio, the same guy who helped TJ Dillashaw get the belt. And I think that's going to be a huge factor. Heading into this fight, I've been leaning towards DDP, as most people are, and as rightfully so. But my heart says Khamzat's going to take the win. And at the start of this year, I even predicted he would win. The more I see him train, the more I want to learn his way. The more I see him train, the more I want to lean his way. Maybe it's because we've seen so much of Khamzat's camp and absolutely nothing for DDP yet, and probably won't. No training footage, no hints at what he's working on. But still, am I going to bet on Khamzat? No. Do I want him to win? Hell fucking yes, dude. I want him to prove me wrong, and I want him to prove the world wrong. I want this upset. All I do is watch UFC content, podcasts, training footage, journalists' breakdowns, and the vast majority of people in the sport will agree DDP should and will win this. Why? Well, let's get into DDP next. But before we do, I have a question for you motherfuckers. If Khamzat can't get the finish in round 1, do you still see him beating Dricus Du Plessis over 5 rounds? Let me know in the comments below. You ugly pieces of shit. I gotta stop being so rude. That was very rude. You know that, right? Okay, we're gonna move on to Dricus, as Sean Strickland likes to say. I don't have a Sean Strickland button.
Shut your fucking mouth, you...
Why is Dricus so good? Huh? Nobody knows. Seriously, nobody knows why Dricus is good. And I'm not just talking about me. Like, it's not just like that I don't know. I don't actually know shit about fighting. I'm not a fighter. I'm a fan of the sport, but I don't know how to fight. But I'm talking like real fighters. Guys like Tom Aspinall, Demetrius Johnson, Michael Venom Page. They've all spoke on this very recently. And many other fighters. And they all have the same sentiment. Dricus might be the best shit fighter in the UFC. And that's a quote from Israel Adesanya. Why? Because he's sloppy, he's awkward, and he's unpredictable, and somehow he always gets the job done. Everything he does goes against the norm, it goes against what should be done, and it goes against what every fighter would agree is the right thing to do. Against what you'd expect from any pro fighter to train for. And on the surface, he looks like a fucking amateur. And for years, people have discredited him. It was always, yeah, he's winning now, but it won't last. He won't make it far in the UFC. And look what he's done. Here we are. He kept winning. He won the title. He defended it, and then he defended it again. And now he's going for yet another title defense. And like Khamzat, he is undefeated in the UFC. His overall record is 23-2-0. He's 9-0 in the UFC, and he debuted the same year as Khamzat in 2020. He has earned himself 3 Performance of the Night bonuses, 3 Fight of the Night bonuses, and he has big wins. I'm going to puke. And he has big wins over Sean Strickland twice, Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, Derek Brunson, and Darren Till. And let's just talk about his size for a second. Dricus is a massive middleweight. He's said himself that he walks around anywhere between 225 to 230 pounds. That's 40 to 45 pounds above the 185-pound weight limit that he fights at. Which means he's dropping about 45 pounds every fight. This guy could fight at light heavyweight and even heavyweight if he wanted to. And there's a real possibility that we see that someday. Now, Khamzat has been the one going on about chasing the 3-division title dream. But if anyone is actually built for that, it's Dricus. If he gets past Khamzat this Saturday, this fight is one of the biggest fights of the year. It might be the biggest. It's the one we've all been waiting for, and it's going to answer all these questions. Because if Dricus beats Khamzat, who is left? If Khamzat can't take him out, who can? The only 2 names I can think of are Anthony Hernandez, riding off an 8-fight win streak, just mopped the floor with Roman Dolidze this past weekend, and RDR, Renier de Ridder, a huge middleweight with an awkward, unpredictable style that could actually match Dricus's chaos. That's the thing with Dricus. Everyone else fights proper. There's a right way to throw punches, shoot takedowns, clench, grapple, the textbook way. Then there's the wrong way. The way your coach tells you not to fight because you will definitely lose. And Dricus fights the wrong way that everyone says you will definitely lose, and he wins every time. That's why Izzy called him the best shit fighter in the sport. Now, outside of Hernandez and RDR, who is left? Kyle Baralho and Nasruddin Imavov are fighting for the next contender spot, and I like them both, but I don't see either one beating Dricus. He's already beaten almost everyone else in the top 10 except Hernandez. Cannonier is fighting MVP this weekend, and honestly, I don't think Cannonier gets it done. Brendan Allen, Dolidze, Costa, Vittori, Abbas Magomedov, Kopylov, none of those guys are beating Dricus. But here's the thing. Here's something to consider, okay? There's another factor at play with this card this weekend. MVP. He's an interesting one, isn't he? This is his second middleweight fight. He has said welterweight is his pride and joy, but he's 1-0 at middleweight. In his last fight, he beat Shara Magomedov. And if he beats Cannonier, he could jump to the number 9 spot at middleweight. And that could fast-track him to a title shot at middleweight. And he's number 15 at welterweight as well. And MVP is an awkward, unorthodox style as well. But the difference is MVP is very calculated. fighters understand and respect what it is that MVP does in the octagon, even though it is a very unorthodox style. But Dricus, nobody has any fucking idea what the hell he's doing. Not the people watching, not the people he's fighting, and not even the people who are pros and study fight styles for a living. And that's why he's projected to win again. Now let me ask you this, motherfuckers. If Dricus gets past Khamzat this weekend, who do you think has the best chance of beating him next? Anthony Hernandez, RDR, MVP, somebody else, or nobody at all? You have to let me know now. We're crushing this podcast, dude. We're zipping right through it. I thought we'd be like 40 minutes into it by now, but we're only 31. That's okay. I'm gonna list off some fights, some other fights on this card that you need to look out for. Okay? This is honestly a pretty decent card. Don't listen to the haters. People love to complain about UFC cards. They love to say every card is shit. They're expecting every card to be a banger. Because back in the day, there were less fighters, and the less fighters that there were, they were all great. So there was also less cards, so you only got like one card every once in a while, and when they had that one card, it was a fucking doozy. But we have so many cards nowadays, and we have so many fighters signed to the UFC. You have no choice but to allow everyone to fight, which means not every single fight on the card is going to be good. But this is actually a decent card, dude. Okay? There are some absolute bangers you need to look out for, okay? And right at the beginning of the night, okay? The first prelim, I think it's the first prelim, right? Let me take a look here. Yeah, there's 3 early prelims, and then there's the first prelim of the night, which is Brian Battle versus Nursultan Ruzaboyev. Brian Battle is one of my favorite up-and-comers. And he's more than an up-and-comer now. He's been up-and-coming. He's getting there. Similar to MVP in the sense that he has always fought at welterweight, but he has since moved up to middleweight for this fight. He has given us one of the greatest post-fight promos we've ever seen, and surely he's about to do it again. Watch my last video from last week to see that promo. And the guy that he's fighting has had 47 fights in his whole career, and he is only 31 years old. It's nuts. This one's going to be a fucking wild one to start the night. Okay? Next, we have Chase Hooper versus Alexander Hernandez. Chase is a young motherfucker rising in the lightweight division. Okay? He has been cleaning out the old heads in the division lately, such as Jim Miller and Clay Guida. And he looks like a freaking child against anyone he fights, but especially against Jim Miller and Clay Guida. But he usually takes the W. And a guy like him is just worth checking out just because he's so interesting. He literally looks like a child, but he fights like a gorilla. Okay, then we have Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura. This is the first fight on the main card, all right? Now, this one's important because of Kai Asakura, specifically. Kai debuted in December of last year. He came over from Rizin, which is a Japanese fight organization, to fight for the title against Alexander Pantoja immediately. His debut, he fought for the title. Kai claimed the flyweight title in Japan at Rizin. He vacated that, then immediately came over to the UFC because Pantoja needed an opponent, or so it seemed at the time. But Kai didn't take the win against Pantoja, and this will be the first time he is fighting since that loss. So this is a real test to see if he has what it takes to continue on in the UFC. And then, honestly, not going to lie, Cannonier versus Page, banger. Jeff Neal versus Protez, banger. Leon Murphy versus Aaron Pico, banger. The entire main card needs to be watched. We already know Cannonier versus Page can determine what happens with MVP at middleweight. Carlos Protez is coming off a loss from Ian Gary after being undefeated alongside his other brothers, the other fighting nerds. So we need to see him get a win and rise with the rest of them. And Leon Murphy is undefeated on a crazy 20-fight win streak, if you include his amateur fights. And he's going against Aaron Pico, who is debuting in the UFC after a dominant performance in Bellator. And we know how Bellator debuts have been going lately. It seems like there is all this hype towards Bellator champs, or even just amazing Bellator fighters, but as soon as they come over to the UFC, they lose. So can Pico take Murphy's O? I doubt it. But fuck, would that be wild if he did? Very great card. Super stoked for it. I cannot wait. Okay? And then there's one final thing, okay? We know we like to cover the fighters' custom shorts. I love that shit, okay? And these are cum shots. Look at them. They've got a wolf. And it says Chimaev, and it's blue. Everyone's hating on these. Everybody. They're like, oh, it's a cartoon wolf. It looks like shit. I love these. I really like these shorts. I don't give a shit what you think. People are always hating on the shorts. I like pretty well every one of them. And the ones that people do like are the boring ones. I like the creative ones. I love Dustin Poirier's shorts. Everyone hates them. They say they're too colorful and whatnot. What are you talking about, dude? They're beautiful. I love these. Don't hate on the shorts, dude. They're nice. I fucking love these fucking shorts. Okay, now we gotta do fight predictions. Isn't that fun? Hold on. I gotta get my shit situated here. Every little thing she does is magic. Everything she does is just like magic. Everything she does is just like magic. Everything she does is magic. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Can you see that? Does that look good? Yeah, that looks nice. Okay, so the first two fights of the night on the early prelims are tough championship finals, or whatever the fuck you call it. I don't watch Tough, so I don't know what it's all about. But these are like the finals for these guys, okay? I don't know shit about these guys. I don't really care. So this one I paid attention to. Well, I looked on Tapology to figure out some shit. So I'm going to go for this guy here, Idris. He's 10-0 from Kazakhstan. And then the next couple of guys, I haven't looked up anything about these motherfuckers. These guys just got announced on the card. So I don't know shit, but I'm going to go for the Brazilian guy because he looks cool. Whoops. I moved him out of the way. Get back there, dude. Don't you go sneaking away. Okay, now we're going to start getting into fights that I actually looked into, okay? So we got Karine Killer Silva and Dion the Witch Barboza, okay? Now, originally, Dion the Witch Barboza was not supposed to fight on this card. It was another girl, but they got swapped out, okay? So Karine Killer Silva. She has an MMA record of 18-5-0. UFC record is 4-1-0. She is on a one-fight losing streak. She has had one performance of the night bonus. She is a fighting nerd. And her debut into the UFC was the performance of the night bonus that she won. Then we have Dione the Witch Barboza. Her MMA record is 8-3-0. UFC record 2-1-0. She is on a one-fight win streak. She has also won one performance of the night bonus. And she has actually beaten Karen Silva in Katana fight back in 2019 by unanimous decision. So initially, I was actually going to go for Karine. But now I'm thinking I might go for the Witch. But Karine's pretty good, and she's ranked. I'm going to stick with my guns here. I'm going to go with Killer. And then, of course, we got Brian Battle versus Nursultan Rizuboyev. Okay. So Brian the Butcher Battle is 12-2-0. UFC record is 7-1-0. He's on a 4-fight win streak. He's had 2 performance of the night bonuses, and he is great on the mic. Nursultan Rizuboyev is 36-9-2. His UFC record is 4-1-0. He's on a 2-fight win streak. He has had 1 performance of the night bonus. And like I said earlier, he has had 47 fights and is only 31 years old, and only 5 of them have been in the UFC. His only loss in the UFC was to Joaquin Buckley, as crazy as that sounds. So this guy's pretty experienced, all right? But I'm not going to go against Brian the Butcher Battle because I love him. I could see him losing this, but I don't want him to. So I'm going to go for Brian Battle. Then we have Edson Jr. Barboza, a fucking OG in the sport, versus Drakkar Klose. So Edson Jr. Barboza is 24-12-0, UFC record of 18-12-0. He's on a 1-fight losing streak. He's had 3 performance of the night bonuses, 10 fight of the night bonuses, and he has been in the UFC since 2010. He has fought legends such as Donald Cerrone, Paul Felder, Tony Ferguson, Anthony Pettis, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Dan Hooker, Justin Gaethje, and Bryce Mitchell. And he has never fought for the title. His highest ranking in the lightweight division was number 4, and he currently is not ranked. Then we have Drakkar Klose. 15-3-1, UFC 9-3-0. He's on a 1-fight losing streak. He has had 2 performance of the night bonuses, and he was undefeated outside of the UFC. He's also much younger than Barboza, I forgot to mention. Barboza is like 41 years old. So I think for this one I'm going to go for Mr. Klose. All right, we're moving on to Chase the Dream Hooper versus Alexander the Great Ape Hernandez. Chase is 16-3-1, and in the UFC he's 8-3-0. He's on a 3-fight win streak. He has had 2 performance of the night bonuses, 0 fight of the night. And he's only 25, but as you can see, he looks even younger. He took out Clay Guida and Jim Miller in his last 2 fights, 2 legends of the sport. And Alexander the Great Ape Hernandez is 16-8-0. In the UFC, he's 8-7-0. He's on a 2-fight win streak. He has had 2 performance of the night bonuses and 1 fight of the night bonus. And his debut into the UFC was a win over Benel Dariush, believe it or not. And that is what earned him one of his performance of the night bonuses. And just like Chase Hooper, he has had a win over Jim Miller. And I am not going to go for the Great Ape. I'm going to go for Mr. Hoop. Now we move on to a couple badass chicks. Jessica Bate Estaca Andrade versus Lupita Lupi Godinez. Now, Jessica Andrade is 26-14-0. In the UFC, she's 17-12-0. She's on a 2-fight losing streak. She's had 6 Performance of the Night bonuses, 5 Fight of the Night bonuses. She is the former UFC strawweight champion, but she has had no title defenses. She's an OG in the sport. Loopy is 13-5-0. In the UFC, she's 8-5-0. 1 fight win streak, 1 Performance of the Night bonus, and nothing really else to say about her other than in her last fight she pooped her pants. Loopy had a poopy, and she said it on the mic in the corner. She's like, I have to take a shit. But she had to keep going, and because of that, I'm going to vote for Loopy. Next up, we got Gerald GM3 Mearshart versus Michael Hassar Oleksejczyk. Oh, wait. Actually, I wrote down the phonetic way to pronounce this. It's not actually Michael. It's Michał, apparently. Michał Oleksijczuk. All right? Now, Gerald Mearshart is 37-19-0. His UFC record is 12-11-0. He's on a 2-fight losing streak. He's had 5 Performance of the Night bonuses. He's been fighting since 2007, and he's 37 years old. Now, Michał, there's no way that's how his name is pronounced, is 29-0. His UFC record is 8-7-0-1, no contest. He's on a 1-fight win streak. He's had 3 Performance of the Night bonuses, and he's had 2 Fight of the Night bonuses. I didn't realize he was 8-7 in the UFC. And I just got announced that I believe it's him. He has now joined the Fighting Nerds. As crazy as that sounds. Now, I was going to vote for him before I even heard about that, but now that makes me want to vote for him even more. Next up, we have Bobby Green, not King Green. It's Bobby Green. Oh, also, I have one thing to say about Michał. Oleksijczuk. Okay, Hassar. He was the final guy to give Sam Alvey his 8th consecutive loss in the UFC before he ultimately got cut. Poor Sam Alvey. Anyway. Bobby Green versus Diego Fiera. Bobby Green is 32-17-1. In the UFC, he's 13-12-1-1. No contest. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, 4 Performance of the Night, 4 Fight of the Nights. Diego, 19-6-0. UFC, he's 10-6-0. He's on a 1-fight losing streak, 4 Performance of the Night, 3 Fight of the Night. This could go either way, but I'm going to go for Diego because he's Brazilian and I like him. And Bobby Green just has always rubbed me the wrong way. Now we're on the main card. We've got Tim Elliott versus Kai Asakura. Tim Elliott, 20-13-1, 9-11 in the UFC. He's on a 1-fight losing streak, 3 Performance of the Night, 3 Fight of the Nights, and he's been in the UFC since 2012. Also ranked number 11. Kai Asakura, 21-5-0. UFC 0-1-0. He's on a 1-fight losing streak. 0 Performance of the Night, 0 Fight of the Night. He was very dominant in Rizin. He was the flyweight champ before vacating and coming to the UFC to fight Pantoja on his debut. He did not win. In Rizin, he was 13-3-0. And one of those losses was to Manel Kape. Believe it or not. Now, I'll vote for Kai Asakura because I'd like to see him succeed in the UFC, but I don't know how this is going to go, but this will be a test. He's also ranked number 15 in flyweight. Next up, we got a banger again. Jared Killa Gorilla Cannonier versus Michael Venom Page. Cannoneer, 18-8-0, UFC 11-8-0. 1 fight win streak, 4 performance of the night, 4 fight of the night. His last win was to RoboCop, a very great win. He has beaten Vettori, Strickland, Brunson, Gastelum, Hermanson, and Anderson Silva. But right now he's 41 years of age. And when he did beat Anderson Silva was old and ready to get out of there. MVP is 23-3-0, 2-1-0 in the UFC. He's on a 2-fight win streak, 0 performance of the night, 0 fight of the night. Despite winning damn near every fight that he had in Bellator, he never had the title. He was 17-2-0 in Bellator. His last fight in Bellator was for the interim welterweight title, due to the champion, Yaroslav Amasov, vacating the belt to support the Ukraine in the war. But MVP did not win the fight, and he left to join the UFC. And also, MVP isn't that young either. He's 38. Cannonier's 41. But MVP has a huge advantage in this fight, being that he's very unorthodox, slightly younger, and he's ready to go, motherfucker. Okay, next up we got Jeff Hands of Steel Neal versus Carlos the Nightmare Prates. Jeff Neal is 16-6-0, 8-4-0 in the UFC, 1 fight win streak, 2 performance of the nights, 1 fight of the night. And Carlos is 21-7-0, 4-1-0 in the UFC. He's on a 1 fight losing streak against Ian Gary, if you remember, and he's had 4 performance of the night. He's also had a win. Excuse me. He's also had a win over a different Charles Oliveira in SFT combat. His last fight was close. In the end, it looked like he had an opening to finish Ian Gary, but he didn't jump on the opportunity. He's one of the 4 main fighting nerds, and he's the only one of the fighting nerds to have a loss on their UFC record so far. We all love Carlos Prates. It's hard to vote against him, and it's also hard to vote for Jeff Neal. So there we go. Carlos Prates it is. Now we are on the co-main event of the evening. We got Lerone, the Miracle Murphy, versus Aaron Pico. Lerone his MMA record is 16-0-1. His UFC record is 8-0-1. He is technically on a 20-fight win streak if you include his amateur fights. He has had 1 performance of the night, 1 fight of the night. His most recent wins back-to-back are Josh Emmett, Dan Ige, and Edson Barboza. He's on a crazy undefeated streak, even outside of the UFC. 56% of his wins are by decision, and 44% are by KO. So he's not the most exciting fighter to watch, but he always gets the job done. Then we have Aaron Pico, whose MMA record is 13-4-0. This is his UFC debut, so he doesn't have that. But in Bellator, he was 12-4-0. He's on a 3-fight win streak, no performance of the night, no fight of the nights. He has only ever fought in Bellator, no other organization. He's only been in Bellator. But he had 1 fight in the PFL when PFL bought Bellator. And he has never had a belt in Bellator, but was a dominant fighter in the organization and is very well known for his wrestling. I understand if you want to vote for Aaron Pico, but I gotta go for Lerone Murphy, not only for his dominance in the sport, specifically in the UFC, but also just the track record of what Bellator guys have been doing to us lately in their debuts. No matter how dominant they are in Bellator, it doesn't seem to translate in the UFC. So we'll see. And then finally, the main event of the evening. I don't need to go over what these guys have accomplished because I already did that at the beginning of the video. And I'm sure you're already aware if not. But we got Dricus Du Plessis versus Khamzat Chimaev. Now, as I've always said, my brain is telling me Du Plessis is going to take it. But my body is telling me boars. My body is telling me boars. I really want Khamzat to win. And he is the favorite, at least for now. As crazy as that is. But I think I'm going to vote for Du Plessis because that's the smart way to go. But I would love Khamzat to just take it, dude. Come on, Khamzat, show me what you're made of. I want to make love to you, Khamzat. No, I don't. No, I don't. This is my full card. Screenshot it if you want to use it as reference. If you think I'm good at voting, I usually am. Okay, this is out of 14. I usually am only like 3 or 4 off every time. I've never had 100%, but that is my goal. One day I will have 100%. As for now, I don't. But I guess that's it for this episode of the DynamiteGizmo shitcast. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to see more future episodes all related to UFC, that's all we do around here is talk about UFC. I follow it like my life depends on it. Go ahead and like, comment, and the most important thing, just hit the subscribe button. That's where it matters most. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!